already 3 days until Election Day, although almost all the country has some form of early voting that's going on right now. So millions of Americans are already in that process. And yet this happens right before an election. The judge in former President Trump's election interference case has unsealed a key filing from special counsel Jack Smith. That filing lays out Smith's case more detailed than the previous indictment and alleges evidence he'll use in an eventual trial against Trump, which, by the way, he can't do because of an unwritten agreement 60 days out from an election. You wouldn't take somebody running and put them on trial. But apparently you can dump all sorts of, information out there that Trump, no doubt, is going to have to fight. So it's going to feel like trial, including many private conversations between Donald Trump and his former aides. Trump says the entire situation is just another, quote, hit job from the Department of Justice. David Spunt is in Washington with the news. David.
Hi, Harris. The 165-page filing paints a picture of a president desperate to hold on to power. But as you mentioned, the timing of this massive court filing about a month before the election does raise serious questions for Jack Smith. Now, the filing is special counsel Smith's latest effort to convince a judge that Donald Trump, the former president, should go to trial on charges for trying to overturn the 2020 election. Remember, earlier this year, Smith took several blows, Harris, to this high-profile case. The biggest when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled over the summer that presidents are largely immune from prosecution for official acts. Smith and his team retooled and reworked the original indictment, now say that Trump as a private citizen tried to overturn the election. Smith uses the word private many times in this filing. Quote, although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one. Now, a lot of focus also on former Vice President Mike Pence. The filing focuses on the pressure campaign that Pence faced not to certify the election results on January 6, 2021. On page 142 of the court filing, this scene is described. Quote, upon receiving a phone call alerting him that Pence had been taken to a secure location, person 15, someone unnamed, rushed into the dining room to inform then-President Trump in hopes that the defendant would take action to ensure Pence's safety. Instead, after person 15 delivered the news, the defendant, meaning then-President Trump, looked at him and said only, quote, so what? Overall, Smith says Trump told lie after lie and knew they weren't true, adding that the defendant used these lies to inflame and motivate the large and angry crowd of his supporters to march to the Capitol and disrupt the certification, of the proceeding. Now, Trump's spokesman, Harris, told Fox News yesterday, quote, this entire case is a partisan, unconstitutional witch hunt that should be dismissed entirely together with all of the remaining Democrat hoaxes. And that's from Stephen Chung. Harris.
David Spunt, thank you for teeing it up with all those details. Shannon Bream, please explain why Jack Smith got a second bite of the apple with the U.S. Supreme Court, because that is your expertise, with that immunity filing or their decision, and how we got to this point realistically, because it feels personal.
Well, I would say this. I'm happy that what people are seeing here is we were told, some in the media would say, when we got that immunity decision, it's sweeping. It's just a get-out-of-jail-free card for a president who claims this all happened when I was a president. This proves that's not what the court did. What they said is there's got to be an analysis. They gave guidance, and now that's what Jack Smith is doing. He's working through this process. We all know there was not going to be another trial before the election. It's not going to get there. And this is the closest thing, as you mentioned, to getting to that. So as he now goes back to Judge Chutkan, and the Trump team filed, they tried to stop her releasing or unsealing all of this 165 pages. Clearly, the Trump team lost. Judge Chutkan thought, let's go ahead and get it out there. But they're working through that process of what were official acts, which will have immunity, and which weren't. So we're seeing this play out in the way that the Supreme Court intended. This was not a blanket get-out-of-jail card. This was the process that's got to happen. But the timing is tough for the Trump campaign. Now, I don't know if people who are supportive of President Trump, they're not going to be swayed by anything that they're hearing in this. I don't know who it does affect, but it is awfully close when we already have 20-plus states who are voting.
Well, it does give liberal networks, and you could see this happening already last night, an opportunity not to talk about all the disasters that are unfolding on this watch.
The headline changer.
Biden-Harris administration, and the Harris-Walz campaign won't have to answer questions about it, because Lord knows that would be confusing. But it gives them a way to then hone in on the one thing they think is a unifier on the left, and that is hating Trump. I'm curious to know, though, if people are really feeling bad right now, both economically and in other ways. Those disasters are having a way between the port strike and so on. They're affecting more and more people from both sides of the aisle. I don't know how many people are going to be paying attention to the table read that Rachel Maddow will be doing.
That's right. I noticed immediately the headlines and the coverage on all of those liberal networks yesterday changed immediately. From the Hurricane Helene devastation, from the coverage of the vice presidential debate and all of the facts and statistics and policies put forth by J.D. Vance in contrast to Walz, all of that changed over to this. It feels dirty. It feels really dirty. And the fact that a factual proffer, by the way, that was what was unsealed. And when you dig into it, there are plenty of pages where, look, I'm saying this simply as an American, where a quote of, look, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, you got to still fight like heck. Why is that considered evidence for something illegal? Isn't that evidence for something enthusiastic? Like the amount of detail, David Spunt used the word desperate. That was a quote from Jack Smith. It is Jack Smith's portrayal as a desperate private citizen, and that is what gets dumped on our laps, on Americans' laps, during election voting season, the day after a disastrous debate for the Democrat Party, and we're supposed to think that's simply the wheels of justice turning? Absolutely not.
Wow, I have to say, I lawyered up today. Because everybody on here has a legal degree but me.
Get your
I'll just keep asking the good questions.
Or the most dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm
Get your own
getting
firm.
some free advice here.
Get your own firm.
So you know, Jeremy, when you look at the timing of this, though, and you really want to adjudicate election interference, don't you have to not commit it when you go after pressing it against somebody else?
That's exactly right. I mean, a case about election interference, and then you do something that looks a lot like election interference. 33 days before the election. It's ridiculous. I mean, even for someone like, like special counsel, I mean, he is someone who has, had many years practicing law. This is kind of basic stuff. I mean, even in law school, you have legal ethics class. Every law school has this. Even I don't have many positive things to say about Yale Law School. I will say this, we did have a mandatory legal ethics class at least. And one of the things you learn is you don't want the appearance of looking biased, especially in a political season, political election right here. Mm-hmm. Even at the Department of Justice, there's a manual that says don't make a prosecutorial decision that will look like you're putting your thumb on the scale, and right with the election.
But he had already technically done that.
And he's doing that exactly right. So you wonder, why is he doing this? And then so many on the left are hollering about, our democracy, and they're wondering why it's falling on deaf ears. It's because they do stuff like this. No one actually believes them.
Kayla?
Yeah. Look, to your point, Emily, spot on. This is 34 days before an election, just before primetime news coverage, the day after a VP debate in which J.D. Vance outperformed every expectation, did an extraordinary job. And then this comes. And again, very important point you made. This is a 165-page factual proffer that is Jack Smith's version of the case. In this country, we have innocence until proven guilty. We don't know what the other side's case is. Their brief is due October 17th. We have one version of the case floating around during early voting for 2 weeks, and the judge here had full discretion. She didn't have to release this at all. She could have waited until after the election, but she dropped it now. It sure feels very political. It will not move the needle. I don't think people printed out 165 pages, sat at their dinner table and read something, by the way, which had very few new details. They were looking at the hurricane. They're looking at their pocketbooks. They're worried about the economy. That is what will frame this election.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list since September 11th of absentee or early voting in most of the United States. I mean, it's 2 pages before I get to October 9th. Mm-hmm. So by the end of this week, that's almost the entire country of those places who offer that. A lot of people have already decided this election and need now to figure out how they pay for Christmas gifts and things that may not get there on time, what they're going to do for food that's spoiling in cargo containers right now, how expensive things are about to get all around. I mean, their eye is on the dollar.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.